Hello and welcome to Newsbreak Chats. I'm Chai Hofilenia. I'm the editor of Newsbreak, the investigative and in-depth section of Rappler. It's the last Thursday of the month, and on Saturday, November 30, we will be holding the opening ceremonies of the 30th Southeast Asian Games 2019 at the Philippine Arena in Bulacan. Bago umabot doon, ang dami ng mga problemang sumingaw. Allegations of incompetence, lack of preparation, cramming, questions about corruption and possible misspending of public funds, etc. We will be talking about this issue and hope that by some miracle, despite a coming typhoon at that, things will be right. I've invited our reporters who have been following this story, which should really be a source of national pride and not national shame, to dissect how we got here and how we can still put our best foot forward. We have Bigo, who covers sports. I think it's also her first time to be on Newsbreak Chats.
Yes.
So welcome, B. We also have Mara Cepeda, who covers the House, and Speaker Alan Cayetano, who is, by the way, the lead organizer. And we also have Lian Buan, who covers justice, and Ralph Rivas, who covers business. Thank you for being here. Okay, let's start with B. Could you remind us, tell us how the Philippines got to be host of the 30th Southeast Asian Games?
So back in 2015, the host for the 2019 Southeast Asian Games was supposed to be Brunei, but then Brunei pulled out because they foresaw that like in 4 years they won't have enough time to construct the venues, and they know that they can't pull it off. So Philippines stepped in and was like, we'll take the hosting for the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. But then around 2 years later, in the 2017 Kuala Lumpur Games, so that's when Duterte was already president by then, and he was the one who said that we shouldn't be hosting the SEA Games because he wanted to focus on the drug war, and also it was the time where the height of the Marawi siege.
So this was 2017. All right.
Yes, but then while the KL Games were going on, so that's when there was like a reversal in the decision because PSC chairman Butch Ramirez actually lobbied for it that we can host the Southeast Asian Games, and they were successful. So Philippines was able to there was like a turnover from the KL host from Malaysia to the Philippines at the end of the 2017 Southeast Asian Games.
So is 2 years really enough time to mount something as huge as this, considering that Brunei, which is a richer country than the Philippines, had 4 years, and yet it said we might not be able to pull it off?
Well, the Philippines this is the fourth time the Philippines is going to host the Southeast Asian Games, but then I think what went wrong was in 2005 we hosted 40 sports.
40.
And now it was announced that Philippines is hosting the biggest ever Southeast Asian Games, which is 56 sports. That is 16 more sports, and I guess like the New Clark City actually, which is the showpiece of the main hub, which is Clark this time.
Yeah.
They didn't. It wasn't constructed by 2017 because the groundbreaking happened in January 2018. So it wasn't.
So just a little over a year ago.
Yes, and 56 sports is really a lot because it's 56 sports and 530 events.
530 events.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Mara, the overall punong abala is Speaker Alan Cayetano. How did he, who is speaker, legislator, become head of a big sports event like this? He's overall, parang he's accountable for everything.
He became FISGOC chairperson in August 2017. We have to understand he is appointed by President Rodrigo Duterte. So this is why even if so many allegations of alleged corruption and other blunders, the president is still protecting and still frees Cayetano of any wrongdoing. At the time when he was appointed, he was still Department of Foreign Affairs Secretary. When he faced the Senate, maybe a couple of days ago, Lian was there, I believe, covering that hearing. He said that actually it happened when former POC Vice President Joey Romasanta and Cojuangco made a last-minute appeal to him.
This is Pepinco Huangco.
Yes, if the Philippines can reconsider its decision not to host the games anymore, because we wanted to pull out because of what happened in Marawi. We needed the money to rebuild the city. And Cayetano said that the president will only approve only if there's going to be a tripartite organizing committee na one-third, one-third, one-third yung responsibility sa pag-host ng games. So the result was FISGOC, which is composed of officials from both the Philippine Sports Commission and the Philippine Olympic Committee, which is the franchise holder of the games. So it's supposed to be the one organizing. It can be one of the bodies that's supposed to be organizing.
Let me just jump quickly, kasi people who haven't been covering sports or following the Southeast Asian Games, they might not know what's the difference between PSC, POC, FISGOC. What are these bodies anyway?
Yeah, so the Philippine Sports Commission, PSC, is the government sports agency. So that's the one directly under the government, receiving the budget from the government. Then the POC, the Philippine Olympic Committee, is under the IOC, International Olympic Committee. So whatever the major sporting events like the Asian Games, the Olympics, the Southeast Asian
That's under
Games.
POC.
Yes, so that's why POC is considered the franchise holder. And then the FISGOC is, it's a body that's created only for the organization of the games. And based on previous Southeast Asian Games, it's actually more of the POC officials who incorporate this organization, then and it gets dissolved after the SEA Games.
Okay, we'll go into FISGOC in greater detail later, but following off from what Mara mentioned about the appointment of Cayetano, there have been people who've raised questions about his appointment. Legal questions, constitutional questions even, and even ethical questions na may conflict of interest daw. Parang may grounds ba yun, yung sinasabi nila, all these allegations and all these questions being raised?
Well, there are two provisions in the Constitution that come into play if they question the constitutionality of his appointment. Kasi when he was appointed, he was still Foreign Affairs Secretary, so he's a member of the cabinet. Section 13, Article 6 of the Constitution, no, Section 13, Article 7 of the Constitution says no member of the cabinet shall hold any other office or employment during their tenure. It further said that they shall not directly or indirectly practice any other profession, participate in any business, or be financially interested in any contract or in any franchise or special privilege granted by the government. Ganon. And then in 2019, he won as congressman of Taguig. And then he became House Speaker. So meron na namang isang provision yung nag-cover sa kanya, which is Section 13, Article 6 of the Constitution, that says no member of the House may hold any other office or employment in the government. Same lang nung sa Cabinet Secretary.
So two provisions in the Constitution covering whether as cabinet member and as member of the House.
Mas marami lang mas mahaba lang yung definition for the cabinet member. Okay. Mas maraming prohibition if you're a cabinet member. What can be argued here by either Cayetano or FISGOC is that FISGOC is non-stock, non-profit. So it's essentially a private foundation, so that they can argue na, okay, so hindi kami covered because the Constitution only prohibits another position in a government instrumentality, and they can argue that FISGOC is not a government instrumentality.
Do you agree? FISGOC is not a government office or a government entity?
I think it's debatable because even if dadaan natin to sa semantics, semantics na naman, but they're essentially performing a job of the executive department, which is hosting, this regional sporting event that is, we expect, that is responsibility of the government, of the host country. But, for Cayetano, earlier this morning, I asked him, do you see any conflict of interest? Because I cover the House, do you see any conflict of interest that you are having a dual role? You are Speaker of the House, and yet you are also the chairperson of this private foundation that will deal, or is already dealing with huge sums, multi-billion pesos worth of public funds, which Congress, which you are the head of, is
Yes.
expected to be scrutinized. He said, wala, there's no conflict of interest there. And I have a feeling the question might have irritated him kasi kumbaga parang binalik na rin niya yung tanong na siya daw yung he had to actually sacrifice time when he was campaigning because he had to attend FISCOC meetings, and when there was a delay in the passage of the 2019 budget, he had to find a way to finance the salaries of the employees. And he said this isn't the first time that a private entity was the one tapped to organize the SEA Games. So in 1991, we had the MANSOC. In 2005, we had PhilSoc. So it's essentially Philippine SEA Games Organizing Committee, pero iba lang yung letter. But you see, yung mga heads nitong the heads of these private entities, they weren't congressmen. They weren't part of the legislative branch. So even if debatable yung unconstitutionality niya, delikadeza mo na yun bilang isang congressman na pinagkatiwalaan ng tao na mag-iingat ng pera. Don't put yourself in a situation that would make people question whether you are being dishonest or not. But if we are going to believe the speaker, he is not earning any kickbacks from the hosting of the SEA Games, and he is actually willing to face all investigations, but after the games lang. And he also plans to write to the Commission on Audit to subject FISJOC to a special independent audit. Kasi nga, dahil private entity siya, baka hindi sila mako-cover automatically nung auditing process ng COA.
I have a question about this private entity business. Kasi nga, parang kung yun yung palusot, no? It's a foundation, it's a private foundation, therefore, yung mga bidding requirements, procedures, mga check and balance will not apply. Hindi ba siya parang a way out of these checks and balances para mabilisan na lang ma-approve lahat ng mga contracts and all these deals?
Yeah, I think the rationale naman talaga of creating a private foundation for the SEA Games is para mabilis. Kasi ang pagkakakwento and there's nothing wrong with evading public bidding. The procurement law allows other modes of procurement aside from public bidding. So I think yun yung rationale. At yung pagkakakwento ni Speaker Cayetano sa Senate is that, so 6 billion was allotted for the PSC to host SEA Games. So yung PSC daw, lack procurement lawyers. So hindi na sila bidding kasi hindi nila alam yung gagawin. So, nag-tap out na sila. Tapos sabi nila sa DBM Procurement Service, tulungan nyo kami. So, binigay nila lahat ng pera sa DBM Procurement Service. And at the tail end, nung malapit na yung SEA Games, pati daw yung DBM sumuko na. Sabi nila, hindi na namin kaya tong ipa-public bidding. So, 1.5 billion pesos was transferred from DBM Procurement Service initially to POC. Yung POC daw, humindi rin. Sabi nila, hindi rin namin kayang i-procurement yan. So, pumunta siya sa FISCOC under financial assistance. And if you read the procurement law, kapag financial assistance yung mode ng transfer, it will not be covered by the law. So, it's true. It will really
facilitate.
It will facilitate an expedited process of procurement. It will evade public bidding na hindi naman sana masama. Pero dahil nakikita naman natin yung shortcomings, yung lack of preparation, mas maka-question mo yung sarili mo na, was it proper not for you to undergo public bidding?
Ang question ko rin, if at that point, parang nararamdaman na kulang tayo nito, hindi natin makukuha to on time, etc., was pulling out an option? Or kahiyaan na?
Actually, there were reports maybe around March 2019 this year that Indonesia and Thailand offered to take the hosting from us.
As late as March of this year?
Yes, because Indonesia just hosted the 2018 Asian Games. So structures were in place.
Yeah.
In Asian Games, Indonesia bought around 100 new buses to help facilitate the logistics. And Thailand, which is a sporting powerhouse in Southeast Asia, they have a lot of the stadiums that's not only in Bangkok but also in the provinces of Thailand. So we could say that Indonesia and Thailand, venue-wise and logistics-wise, they were already ready to take the hosting.
Could you recall for us how the past, kasi you mentioned nga the past hostings, no? Parang there were, so this is the fourth, ibig sabihin, we've hosted this under 3 previous presidents. What happened during those years? Although bata ka pa.
Well, yeah, just to know that I wasn't born in 1981 and 1991. Yeah.
Sige na.
But then, like, I could tell you, like, our plays, how many gold medals we had, how many sports there were. So,
Yeah.
in 1981, that was the first time we hosted the Southeast Asian Games under Marcos. So, if you know, Marcos is actually known for his Gintong Alay Foundation,
Yes.
which gave rise to, like, our athletics legends like Elma Morris Posadas and everything.
DJ De Vega.
Yes, DJ De Vega also. So in that SEA Games, for the first time we hosted, we actually landed third with 55 gold medals, and only 18 sports were being played. And back then, Ultra, which is now Phil Sports, was new pa. And then in 1991, it was under Cory Aquino. So we came in second with 91.
Not bad.
Yeah, 91 gold medals because there were 10 more sports, 28 sports, kasi 18 yung last time. And then that was
Ang
the
konti, compared to the 56 this year.
Yeah. And that time, it was the first time na it was held. There were some sports, around 4 sports, which were archery, canoeing, sailing, and triathlon were held in Subic Bay. So, nag-expand na siya outside Metro Manila. And then, in 2005, which is the last time we hosted before this,
Yeah.
we came in first. So, that was yung talagang pride and glory ng Philippines na, wow, we came in first.
Sino man pangulo nun?
That time, it was GMA.
2005.
Yes, 2005 because and then the opening ceremonies were held in Quirino Grandstand and everything. So, and we came in with 112 gold medals, and ito naman 40 sports. 40 sports. Oo. So actually by that time, mga 40 sports, that's usually the estimate na of all the Southeast Asian Games. It ranges from around 38 to 44 sports. And also in 2005, the reason why we did well din kasi that was the time na yung mga star athletes natin ngayon, like si Heidi, Phil
Yes.
Young husband, James Young husband, sila, it was their first time competing for the Philippines in the Southeast Asian Games.
So we had a good history.
Yes,
we had
we
a good
did.
pass of hosting, and even their performance was pretty good.
Yes, and pero yun nga, like we can't really compare the hostings before to hostings now because 14 years later, sobrang iba na yung technology. Yeah.
Like how?
Actually, like mga 2005 pa lang. That time, manual pa yung mga
Tallying.
tallies. Oo.
Okay. Mano-mano.
Yeah, and then, so, come mga 2015, 2017 Southeast Asian Games. 2015 was hosted by Singapore. Singapore is one of our most global Southeast Asian
Very high-tech.
countries. Oo, very high-tech. And I could say very organized. Kasi,
Of course.
yung NTU, Nanyang, was actually used to accommodate the athletes na parang sinabi nila na, walang pasok, so everyone can vacate the dorms and then that house the athletes. And then the buses also were very efficient. And Singapore is also a small
Yes.
country, so it's 30 minutes from one end to the other. So it was okay na medyo spread out. And then, syempre, like, there's always, like, updated yung website, live results.
Yeah.
And then, talagang,
Bakit? May website din tayo
oo, meron.
Rapper,
Pero we
diba?
have, yes, may
Southeast
website
Asian
ang-
Games website.
we haven't seen pa the actual, yung pag-update ng results because I think that's the true
We'll
test.
see.
That's the true test talaga. Also, and Kuala Lumpur, actually, Kuala Lumpur SEA Games, medyo delayed lang din yung website. But then, hosting-wise, very good also.
Okay. You mentioned a while ago na Indonesia and Thailand had facilities in place. No? In our case, naghahabol tayo. We built the new Clark City in Capas, Tarlac. Pero parang nagkaroon din ng issue doon. Hindi lang sa Manila, pati sa New Clark City mismo. Ralph, could you explain a bit? Medyo technical lang konti, pero help us understand what the issue is all about.
Okay, first of all, ang ganda ng New Clark City. And di ba, parang you can see the photos, pero again, medyo may mga technical aspects on it. Basically, it was constructed through the joint venture agreement between the BCDA and the Malaysian firm called MTD Capital Berhad. So, 8.5 billion pesos yung worth ng facilities. Then, under the JV, BCDA will provide the land, and then the Berhad is for the construction and the financing. So, under the syempre, joint venture, ibig sabihin nun, wala nang bidding yun. Pero our corporate counsel found na dapat, hindi siya dapat joint venture. Kasi BCDA will have to pay Berhad for the facilities plus interest. So, nakita natin, yung sa statement na rin with BCDA, na naka-appropriate sa GAA natin sa budget, 9.5 billion. So imagine, from 8.5 naging 9.5. So
Dagdagan ng 1 billion.
Yeah, so under a joint venture, saan yung contribution ng private firm sa joint venture na to? 'Di ba? So kung nag-profit sharing sila for a certain number of years, that's a joint venture. But this time, it's not. Sinasabi ng Corporate Council or the OGCC na rin dun sa contract review nila na dapat ay isa tong build transfer scheme.
So pag build transfer, ito mismo na yung private company, sila yung magko-construct and then gastos niya lahat.
Yes, and then babayaran ng gobyerno, and then the government pagka nabayaran na yon, pagmamay-ari na ng gobyerno yon. And then sa bill transfer scheme kasi maximum of 12% yung return of investments. So yung 9.5 is mga almost 12% naman, so medyo pasok siya. Pero nung before lumabas yung story natin, yung juicy na part doon is that
Ano yung juicy part?
nakita natin na for 25 years ay magpa-profit sharing yung MTD Berhad at saka BCDA, kung ano man yung kikitain ng facilities. And then also, there was this option, the 5-year payment scheme, where BCDA will pay Berhad 2.2 billion for 5 years. So 2.2 times 5, that's 11 billion. So 11 billion from 8.5, that is almost 30% yung return of investments. Pero sinasabi ngayon, nung lumabas yung story namin ni Lian, hindi na
sila magpa-profit sharing.
Yeah, no more profit sharing, and then since babayaran ng bulto yung project ay parang canceled out na yon.
Okay.
Pero hindi nakalagay sa GVA yun. Sinabi na lang nila yun.
Nilabas na ba nila yung contract? Have we seen a copy of the contract?
We have copy of the draft contract, we have copy of the final contract, we have copy of the contract review.
Okay.
What we don't have is
The favorable legal opinion that is being cited by the BCDA that was issued after the signing of the final agreement.
Why do we care about the favorable opinion? Kasi process, tama ba?
Yeah.
Process-wise, dapat walang deal na magaganap kung walang legal opinion first coming from the OGCC.
Yeah.
So parang what you're saying is wala pa yung favorable legal opinion in effect, yung go signal ng OGCC. Pero nagkapirmahan na ng kontrata. And then nung nagkapirmahan ng kontrata,
Saka kumuha ng legal opinion.
nag-construction na. So, ano pa bang, ano makes you think na parang nagko-construct na? So, sino pang pipigil or ano, di ba?
magiging kontrabida pa ba ang OGCC at that point?
Yeah.
Is it worth spending that much for New Clark City? Ilang events ba ang gaganapin doon?
Sa pagkakaalam ko, dalawa.
Two sports.
2 sports. Pero,
Dalawa lang.
Track and field and swimming.
Yeah, but when we visited New Clark City with the speaker a couple of weeks back, they're trying kasi to brand it as something that Filipinos can use without actually mentioning, it's actually pretty far sa susunod na bayan. Walang Jollibee doon, walang McDo, walang malapit na
Things that
restaurant.
matter. Walang,
diba?
walang kainan doon.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
really have to travel. Kasi ang mga dinaanan namin, mga mga
Talahib.
talahib, mga rice fields, and that's also another issue altogether, di ba? May mga na-displaced daw. And they're also planning to put up a Philippine National High School of Sports within that complex. So maybe that's how they're going to
Okay.
counter-argue it. But
Okay.
as pointed out by our news editor, Miss Gigi Go, in one of her recent newsletters, a lot of the facilities put up in other countries just for the hosting of the Olympic Games, after a few years, it's being abandoned.
Yeah.
So,
Naging
and,
white elephants.
diba? And there are a lot of, diba, from contracts to the actual physical location of New Clark City, it has all the indications that at some point, people are going to forget that it's there just because it's not convenient to go there. And traffic is so bad. There's a GME reporter who said she would travel 6 hours every day just to cover the games that are happening now for the SEA Games. Are people willing to travel 3 hours a day just to go and exercise? And that,
Malay mo, baka mag-build ng,
I guess
reels
baka
in the
naman,
future,
baka naman.
trend.
Let's
Well-
give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, yan mismo naman din kasi yung vision for New Clark. Kung nakikita nyo, ang daming, it's gonna be the next center in the next couple of years. Like, sino ba mga nandyan? Even Dennis Uy.
He's already there.
Yeah, marami ng business establishments na nagse-set up doon. So but then again, we don't have the numbers yet kung ano ba kung kailan natin ma-realize yung economic boom na to doon sa area.
And Ralph, weren't you pointing out that it didn't pass through NEDA kasi?
Yes.
So ang dinaanan niyang review is OGCC, which is legal,
Yes.
but doesn't necessarily comprehensively analyze yung
Yeah.
economic viability. No?
Yeah, kasi
So,
BCDA has
dapat dumaan sa NEDA rin? Is
Not
that what you're
necessarily.
saying?
Kasi may dalawang options yung BCDA in pursuing projects. One, they follow the BCDA rules, their rules, or two, they follow the NEDA rules. Mabusisi kasi titingnan pa yung economic viability, kung ano yung ilang percent yung mga ganito-ganyan, highly technical aspects. Pero itong kapag BCDA process kasi, again, dadaan siya doon sa OGCC. Na babalik ulit tayo na October na niya nakuha.
October na yan ako.
After the fact.
After the fact.
And regarding it also being a white elephant, so in the last PSA forum, may dumating also from New Clark City, and they were like arguing that it won't be a white elephant because they plan on renting it out to athletes who are training for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, kasi sinasabi nila na mainit yung Pinas, and then mainit din sa Japan by then, it's dry and everything, kasi talagang mahapde talaga yung araw dun sa New Clark City. I've been there back and forth, and yun nga, it takes so long. And
To get there.
To get there, as in, pagod na pagod ka after. And then,
Part of your warm-up yun.
oo, totoo. Pero, yun din, like one of the white elephants that I could point out now, as of now, is the Philippine Sports Stadium, which is beside Philippine Arena sa Bulacan. And I remember the last big game that was held there was yung Azcal's game against Bahrain.
Yeah.
Oo. And then and after that, parang wala na ako narinig. May narinig lang ako yung habang the time that Katy Perry went to Manila and performed in Philippine Arena. As in, like, the last, yung narinig ko, the rugby team was there. They had like a competition, ganun. Then they watched Katy Perry. Parang ganun. But then, I've never covered a game there in Philippine Sports Stadium. And sayang nga, kasi it's just right beside Philippine Arena, naka-set up na. It's just that I don't know why it's not being used anymore.
Let's focus naman on the team itself, no? Kasi nga it's a sporting event. Parang you said a while ago na in the past years, okay naman yung performance natin. How about this year? What are our prospects?
Oh, for gold medals, as in yung Southeast Asia. So in our last Southeast Asian Games in 2017, we had 24 gold medals. So we're looking to surpass that count because like dati, di ba, 112 gold medals. Tapos naging 24. And then so we're actually banking on, well, that's actually the reason why they wanted to host a lot of sports, 56 sports, kasi they want the more
Chances of winning.
Yes, more chances of winning, di ba? Kung yung mga, they added a lot of new sports. So yun, like, we are banking on Hayden Diaz kasi Heidi, she got a silver medal in the Rio Olympics, 2018 Asian Games gold medalist. Pero wala pa siyang gold medal sa Southeast Asian Games. So she's actually looking for her first gold medal in the SEA Games. And then si Carlos Yulo also, who's making his debut in the Southeast Asian Games, world champion and Olympian na siya. So
This is gymnastics?
yes, this is gymnastics, and he's planning to join all to sweep the artistic gymnastics events. So that's total baka kaya 7 gold medals.
7.
Yeah, so yun yung goal niya.
So mas, okay. For him alone.
Yeah, for him alone. So yun, diba? 7 out of 24. Kaya yan.
One third, more or less.
Oo.
Easy.
Yeah. And then sa judo naman, we have other Olympians running to qualify for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. We have Marjorie Didal. She's ranked number 14 now in the world sa skateboarding,
Wow.
and you need to be top 20 in order to qualify for the Olympics. So talagang in the running siya, and she's joining 2 events, the game of skate and yung street skate na event, which is the one she won the 2018 Asian Games gold. So 2 gold medals ulit yun. And then we have
O, ilan na?
Tapos Kiyomi Watanabe sa judo, running for Olympics also. She's based in Japan, so Phil-Japanese siya. And then si EJ Obiena also. He qualified for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics already, and he's looking to set the Southeast Asian Games record kasi like he holds the record na in Southeast Asia at 5.81 meters for pole vault. But then like it's not on the record books of the SEA Games, so he's planning to set that na. Yeah, kasi that's a far cry from yung competitor niya from Thailand kasi 5.60 something lang yung competitor niya. So big chance talaga. And of course, we should not forget yung mga popular sports natin, boxing and basketball. So, Gilas Pilipinas is shooting for its 18th gold medal in the SEA Games and 13th straight. Yeah. So, and boxing, we have Nesty Petesio, world champion din siya, and si Yumir Marshall and Jordan Marvin. As in, like, for the boxing team, yung story nila, parang ang dami nilang hugot from the Kuala Lumpur SEA Games and Asian Games kasi talagang dinaya sila. That's what they felt. So, parang magbabawi na sila dito sa SEA Games in Manila.
So, ang optimistic projection or hope natin is how many golds?
Well, with maybe I can say that I think that we can surpass that 24 gold.
25.
So hindi
We'll
naman
surpass
25.
it.
But then like so yung story is like we're looking for that person that athlete who will win that 25th gold medal. Yun.
Okay. So, if we do less than 24, that's not good.
Oh, that's upsetting talaga. Kasi our trend, we placed 6th in the 2017 Southeast Asian Games. Diba, coming from podium finishes. So, yun, they're really targeting a top 3 finish. So, that's the projection. Like, it's parang suntok sa buwan na yung top, pero at least the top 3 yun. We're looking to crash it there.
Okay. In the past few days, parang especially yesterday, no? Yesterday was November 27. Parang nag-offensive yung administration, both on social media and nagpa-press con. And they were criticizing the media for the critical reporting that we've been doing. What's your take on this?
Well, given na parang napasubo nga yung bansa because we were not supposed to host it, di ba? Nag-back out na. So parang they forced this. They disbursed how many billions for this. So I think it's tama lang naman to expect like competence and good performance from the organizer. So to point out mistakes would be our duty also because this is taxpayers' money. Hindi naman to pera ng kung kani-kanina lang. So I think it's non sequitur din yung nagiging narrative ngayon ng SEA Games officials and the government that if you're criticizing, you don't love your country. I think the reason why
tayong mga journalists and the rest of the Filipinos, the reason why we are calling out all these mistakes, precisely because we love our country, we love our athletes, they're very good, as what B said, and they deserve
The best.
they deserve the best. They deserve a government that, will not embarrass them. Fine, mananalo sila sa podium, pero yung panalo nila, because they're representing a country, may bahid na yun ng corruption na hindi naman nila ginagawa. Kumaga, masisira kasi yun And I always say this whenever sometimes a congressman would criticize, the beat when we criticize them. You are government officials. You are we either elected you, or the people we elected, like the president, appointed you there. We hold you to a higher standard. Do not be offended when we do, because that's your job. And it's so easy to just tell people you're unpatriotic, that's why you're criticizing. Pero parang mga kaibigan mo naman yan, di ba? Ibaba na lang natin. Alam mong may pakialam sa'yo yung kaibigan mo if he or she will point out what you've been doing wrong. Huwag mo na siyang balikan, hindi ka niya mahal. Di ba? Di ba? The friend. Di ba? Ihugot na natin, di ba? Your friends aren't your real friends if they don't show you your mistakes. And you don't love your country if you do not expose the mistakes of your country. Not because you want to destroy it, but because the country deserves better.
Yeah, and I guess isa pa sa mga hugot na bakit maraming nagagalit is that Filipinos know that we can do so much better. I mean, come on, logo pa lang, pati yung mascot. Sorry, Pami, but it's not cute. Diba, parang we can do so much.
Sorry, it's not cute.
Pami, you're not cute. Diba? So, ang dami pang pwedeng, diba, parang you can see the talent of the Filipinos. I mean, we can host better. We know kung anong mga companies can do it better. So, bakit itong mga to na parang nagmumukha tuloy tayong amateur in this global arena? Di ba parang nakakahiya? So, I guess at this point, yung critical reporting natin is needed now more than ever.
To add to what Ralph said about that we can do better, like may nakikita pa nga akong post na college organizations, they can host like events better pa because like even ako, like kukuha lang ako ng photo for like the breaking, parang naka-iPhone photography lang, it's like you could actually invest more in photographers and also in info dissemination. And if you could see that on a small scale, like college orgs you could actually expand that, diba? And then, and for me naman, yung seeing that we're just only showing the negative, but then, like for example, like I went to take photos of the venues, but then I felt like photos couldn't even justify what I was seeing, what I was hearing, what I was smelling. So, people really have to know and hear that like may nagddrill pa, like people are moving, like the equipment back and forth. It was very dusty. It smells like paint thinner. And yes, that we see the nice architecture. Pero syempre, photos can be deceiving also, diba? So, and why would we also show why show the negative? Because it's there. It's right in front of our eyes. And diba, it's our job to...
You can't close your eyes.
Exactly. I have 5 senses. Use them.
Correct.
Sinasabi nila, write good stories naman or write good news. We do. We have been posting a lot of in photos. Pag may nananalo ng Filipino team, we write about it naman. Pero syempre, nagva-viral yung mali. And I really hope that our leaders will... There have been fake news going around. There are certain people online that are really deliberately trying to spread false information online. May mga mali na rin yung mga journalists. We have acknowledged this. We have rectified the errors. But that doesn't mean that all the other criticisms should be disregarded. I mean, the presidential spokesperson himself said that the critics have a point. There is something wrong with the hosting of the SEA Games because there are legitimate concerns that has to be addressed.
Ako to add lang, government officials are legally bound to a certain standard. They will be punished for misconduct. They will be punished for gross neglect of duty. They will be punished for graft. So to hold them accountable for lapses is not only patriotic, it's also a legal duty. So batas naman yung nagsabi na hindi naman tayo.
From our justice report.
Yeah.
So parang it's not only our journalistic duty, it's also our
Yeah.
legal duty because they're bound by law to perform well.
Correct. Any other takeaways from this?
Siguro ako, yung idadagdag ko na rin, may mga questions sa contracts, diba, on who got them, and even the New Clark City. Siguro, corruption is also a business issue. Kasi kapag hindi nakaparticipate yung lahat, like hindi nakapag-public bidding, may mga pinapaborang mga kumpanya, for instance, or yung mga companies na mga hindi kagandahan yung output, for instance, like yung mga publicity materials na hindi man lang makasunod ng maayos na margin or color
Or
scheme
font.
or font, 'di ba? Yung mga basic rules na mga ganon. It's really bad for business. Kasi hindi makaka-participate yung mga companies na may magandang track record dahil porket siguro may mga pinaboran ng mga kung sino-sino dyan. So, again, corruption is also bad for business. Yun yung takeaway ko.
Great. All right. So, we're approaching the opening of the 30th Southeast Asian Games. It's Saturday na and we have a typhoon that's coming. We hope walang tulo sa mga venue, sa mga walang masaktan because merong malaglag, because really it's the country's name at stake. So we're hoping that despite all the negative things that have emerged in the lead up to the opening and preparations, we hope that our athletes will still do very, very well, and we surpass the 24 gold medals that we had in the last Southeast Asian Games. But really, it's the job of the media to use all our five senses, as B put it, and we will continue to report no matter what. And if you are out there and you're watching the games and you're seeing anything wrong, just share those observations, share those photos, share those videos with us, and we will publish them because everyone has a stake here. The Southeast Asian Games is very much it's part of Filipino pride, and as Ralph said, we are capable of rising up to global standards. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next month for the next Newsbreak Chats. Thank you, and I'm Chai Hofelenia.